So I'm going to try to narrate some of this to kind of explain what's going on. So I graphed over this point and found hybrid and largemouth schooled up together. So on the graph, which I don't have any images of, I need to get some images, but the hybrid are actually feeding higher up in the water column with the largemouth right along the bottom, just like they typically would set up. Fishing about 14 to 18 foot of water. And what was going on, if I could get the spoon through the hybrid, I could actually get bit by the largemouth on the bottom, but as you can tell, it was kind of a challenge. So what we've got going on here, there's a creek channel that runs out into the main river. It forms 2 points on each side, and these points are long, flat points. They've got some rock on them, and the most important thing that I'm looking for when throwing this spoon is a lot of bait. I throw it sometimes when there's not a whole lot of bait around, but most of the time you're going to get most of your bites when there's a lot of bait. So that's what I'm looking for. There is a little creek channel ledge on one side of that point that kind of drops off, and that's kind of where I've been catching the majority of the fish. But there's a lot of them just kind of roaming along the flats on top of the points as well, so kind of fish it pretty thoroughly. So there's one more thing that I'm looking for when I'm kind of fishing up here, especially around those flats where those fish are just kind of roaming. If you pay attention to the surface, you'll see that bait just kind of come up and just kind of flicker on the surface. They'll jump, pop out of the water. Um, you're not necessarily seeing, that many fish come out of the water schooling on them. But what's going on is those shad are just running. Basically, there's fish coming up below them, and they're just coming through the school, and those shad are fleeing. So you'll see them just kind of pop up on the surface every now and then. Just watch out for that kind of thing, because you can throw that spoon around that bait when it's flickering and popping like that, and get a lot of bites. So this here was a couple of days later. We fished a Tuesday night tournament. Uh, was on them pretty good, but this went downhill pretty quick, and I will show you why at the end of the video.
He hit me too.
I hit too.
But yeah. I got hit when you was coming in. Mine came off, but
Nope, largemouth. Big largemouth.
that's right.
This ain't fish.
I got one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, look.
Feels like another largemouth. I don't know. He's a big one. He's acting like he wants to come up. I think it's a largemouth.
Oh no, it's a good fish. No.
Oh, but how's that feel, that pop? I know that he was going to come off. I just knew it. Had to. see it. That's heavy. There's some. Another largemouth.
Oh my
He threw it too.
They're good too.
God, what?
What's up, guys? So in the video I told you that I was going to go back and kind of let you know what was going on as far as why I was losing those fish. And what the deal was, I'd caught so many hybrid on that spoon, they pretty much just destroyed my hook, and I wasn't paying attention. I had no idea. But this one is almost completely straightened out, if you can see that. And then this one here is like twisted, like it's in rough shape. But either way, that's what I feel like was the reason, because before I didn't really lose that many fish on these hooks. They're pretty good hooks. They're pretty solid. They're number 2s. They're EWG hooks, which I like to throw on my crankbaits also. They have the short shank. But the spoon I was throwing was the Nichols, the 4.5, I believe, inch, 4.5 inch. And I love their spoons. I'd show you guys the spoon, but I don't have it anymore. I hung it up in a brush pile. What I do have, I have another spoon that I also like to throw. It's a ledge hog spoon. It's also a 5-inch spoon, little bit heavier. It has the number 2 treble on it, which is actually the ones that I put on the nickel spoon. I'll just pull one off of one of these spoons and put it on there. But pretty good spoon. I throw this spoon on 17-pound fluorocarbon. 7'6" heavy rod. You want a longer rod, take up a lot of line on your hook sets, especially with this bigger hook on these things. I do throw a stinger hook on there, and I didn't that particular day, which I wish I would have, but normally I'll just take another hook and run it up my line, just a little stinger hook or whatever. But that's pretty much my setup on that deal. So to fish this thing, you want to just throw it out there, and as it falls, you want to keep just a slight bow in your line. You don't want to keep it tight. You don't want to keep it just completely slack. Just a slight bow, and just follow the line down with your rod tip. And what that does, just in my experience, what that does is it keeps that spoon from twisting up and getting wrapped up in your line. It really helps to keep it from getting wrapped up. And you'll feel your bites a lot better, and then you're also in a good position when you do get bit to set the hook. So you always want to do that. And if you've never got bit on a spoon before, it feels pretty much like a jig bite, just a hard jig bite, just that thump. And you'll feel that thump. You really slack, you set it. And don't play around with these fish. Like, that spoon has so much weight, and those fish get so much leverage on it. Like, they can throw it even with a good hook. When you hook them up, the best thing to do is to get them in the boat. I don't try to play around with them. I get them in as quick as I can. But anyway, that's kind of the spoon rundown. That's just the way I fish it, my setup. I'm sure there's other people who do different things, but that works for me most of the time. So anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching my videos. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. Leave me some comments. I really appreciate feedback. Maybe if you got any suggestions of some things I could do on my videos, maybe a little different, or some things you might like to see, just let me know. I'm game for whatever. I can do spinning rods, whatever y'all want to see. We're good. So anyway, appreciate it, guys, and hope y'all have a good day.